Good evening and welcome to the January 14, 2009 Civil Service Commission meeting. May we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Devine?
Here.
Commissioner Gantis?
Here.
Chair Abkarian?
Here.
And for the record, Commissioner Coleman and Commissioner Manukian are absent.
What's next?
Reading of the minutes.
It's your pleasure, gentlemen.
There are two sets of minutes. I think we should take them in order. November 10th minute.
The November 10th minutes, I was not here, so they'll have to be postponed until we get a quorum on that.
Okay.
You mean November 10th, that's right.
Yes.
Oh, hold on. Was I here November 10th?
Yes, you were. You were not here December 10th.
Yeah.
That's a correction that needs to be made.
That's right.
And
November 10th needs to be changed. I wasn't here on December 10th.
So neither of these minutes can be taken care of then.
No.
and on the December 10th, you show me as absent, and I was here.
And
So you have to switch my place with Mr. Devine's place.
but in all
We're here physically, but not...
Mentally,
I think that's what Sandra is trying to...
she's trying to figure that out.
Sandra.
Sandra.
Okay, so we have to postpone approval of the minutes to the next meeting, so please just have both minutes available next meeting for us to have approved. We don't have a quorum to approve. Let's see. You have Devine and Gantis.
No, we're missing. Yeah,
We're missing.
We're missing.
Okay.
Manukian needs to be here for both
What's
sets,
next?
and he's not.
Oral communications.
None. Next.
Recruitment and examination status report.
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, this is your regular recruitment examination status report. It shows the recruitment activity at various stages amongst the staff. As you can see, it's gone down a bit. We're down to about a page and a half, and this is a reflection of a bit of a slowdown in our hiring as a result of the budget situation. There continues to be some small activity in the Water and Power Department, which is a non-general fund entity, but for the most part, recruitment activity has slowed appreciably. Do you have any further questions on that or any of the contents of this report? Be happy to answer.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Gantis?
This is really a significant change because I've been noticing this. Our processes have been between, as long as I can remember, 70, sometimes over 100 processes, and we're down to 49 processes, which, as you say, reflects the budget and the fact that we're really taking seriously the economy in the city. I think that's something that the City Council should be applauded for and the staff for doing that.
Okay, thank you. Anything else on this issue? Stuart?
No.
Just a quick, going back to the actual minutes, we have a quorum of 3 people here, and 2 could actually approve the minutes.
No, you need a quorum to approve. You need a quorum.
Quorum of the
Yeah, but
3, 2 could actually approve it.
there is no quorum here to do that, though.
Yeah, there is. Gantis and Abkarian could approve the November 10th meeting, and then you have the December 10th. You can have Devine and Gantis approve it.
We have our soon-to-be counsel counseling us.
Could you please state your name?
Good evening. This is Lucy Varpetian, Senior Assistant City Attorney in the City of Glendale. If you had, you certainly have constituted a quorum to hold the meeting tonight, and if a majority of that of the commissioners present here today were present at the last meeting and are able to vote on those minutes, then you would have the ability to approve them tonight.
2 votes.
2 votes would be a majority of our vote of tonight's quorum meeting. So we can actually approve the both.
Okay, then let's go back to that.
Let's
then.
go
Thank
back
you.
to those minutes again. Let's take the November 10th meeting. I'll pass the gavel real quickly to Mr. Devine here. And I will move to approve the minutes of November 10th meeting and dispense with reading.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Devine?
Abstain.
Commissioner Abkarian?
Yes?
Commissioner Gantis?
Yes.
That's that. I'll take that back. Now, December 10, 2008 meeting.
I move for approval with the corrections noted earlier.
Second.
And dispense with reading.
Dispense with reading.
Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Devine?
Yes.
Commissioner Gantis?
Yes.
Commissioner Abkarian?
Abstain. Okay. Now let's move back in the calendar. What's next?
Eligible list established.
Stoa?
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, this is for your information only. It's a listing of the eligible lists that have been established since our last meeting. Last meeting was conducted in, as you know, December 10th, so this is about a month's worth of recruitment activity relative to the establishment of these lists. As you can see, we have 9 lists here, most of which are in the police area, but other departments represented. Some are open, some are promotional. We have one that's promotional and open. The total number of applications for each of these are listed, as are those who ultimately made it onto the eligibility list. If you have any questions, be happy to answer them. Staff is here as well who worked on these.
Any questions?
None?
Mr. White? All right. What's next?
Public hearings, entry-level classifications, 12-month probationary periods, and unclassified hourly classifications and positions.
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, these are what's before you tonight, 3 separate resolutions which we attempt to update periodically, each of which have to do with various areas that the Commission has authority over. First being the declaration of entry-level classifications, the second being the declaration of those classifications which hold a 12-month probationary period, and the last being those classifications that are unclassified. As I said, these are brought to you periodically, and we're actually trying to do them on an annual basis, really to reflect those classifications that have been added to the salary schedule each year, or added. Some have been deleted, some titles have changed, and this action is to really recognize those changes that occur to our salary ordinance. Each of these should be addressed individually. The first being the entry-level classifications, which it's a small list of about a page and a half, and really the relevance of declaring these entry level really serves 2 purposes. One, the rules provide for on entry level classifications that generally permit us to do an open examination in almost every circumstance, whereas in other classifications that are non-entry level, there's a preference towards promotional recruitments. The other area, of course, is we have a very firm and established veterans credit that applies to people who are veterans from various wars, as well as disabled veterans, and the veterans credit becomes applicable for all entry-level classifications. So with that, I'd be happy to address any questions relative to the entry-level classifications.
Any questions? Yes.
Since this is the first time I'll be looking at these types of documents, since I've been on the Commission, I do have some, I'll call academic questions, I guess, so I can get a better understanding of what we're doing. First of all, it's my understanding this is a public hearing and that you've noticed, well, let me ask how you noticed for this public hearing.
The notice has occurred in the standard way that we publicize our agenda and distribute that. Again, it gets put on the bulletin board outside. It's put onto the city's website as far as all of our agendas and the items thereof. Additionally, copies of the full agenda are sent to all of our employee associations and employee groups, mostly to deal with those items that could impact their well-being.
Okay, and do you ever receive, or have you received on this one, any input from the employee associations or any of the people you notified directly?
For this specific one, no. And typically we do not receive that type of concern or questions. This is a fairly routine process, and first of all, we do maintain a pretty open line of communication with all of our employee groups. There's nothing really being done in many of these resolutions that would have a significant bearing on anyone's employment status or their well-being. I could see if we were to take some classifications and 5 or 6 of them and say, hey, we want to take these from being a 6-month probationary period and change it to a 12-month probationary period. That would cause some concern, some questions and such. And frankly, we just wouldn't do something like that without meeting with our employee associations to begin with. But for the most part, we have not seen any type of concern expressed on any of these resolutions.
Mr. Devine, just so you would know, I'm glad you're asking questions, because when I first came into this commission, a quick scan of this was given to me, and I signed it, and I had no idea what I was doing. And it turned out that we took a whole bunch of unclassified employees that should have been actually classified employees and put them in that category. So the one thing that the first thing I did was, the minute I received this, is went into the unclassified employees and made sure they're mostly hourly employees and they're not.
They're all hourly.
We had some people that worked here for 15, 16 years that were actually unclassified employees at one point.
Well, let me clarify that, Mr. Chair, because that was a long time ago. But those
4 years ago.
What it was a reaffirmation of classifications that were traditionally unclassified. And what the Commission did as a whole was made the decision that, hey, we're not going to continue this practice of keeping these salaried positions unclassified. They were mostly grant-funded positions in the community development area, and the Commission took the affirmative step to make them classified and essentially attain the same civil service status as every other salaried employee throughout the city. So that was I think that was a good, appropriate thing to do back then, because you're correct. Many of those employees had worked here. We were calling them temporary unclassified employees, but they'd been here for 15, 20, 25 years, and so that was certainly an appropriate thing to do.
A couple more questions, if I could.
Right ahead.
So far since I've been here, generally this commission has been in the role of approving things. And on these 3 documents that are before us, this one says, staff therefore requests that the commission review the list and determine if any changes should be considered. So my question is, on this and the other 2, on what would we base a decision or a thought to change anything that's in here rather than approve what staff may have given us?
Again, based on any feedback you get or any independent research you've done in looking at these positions, or any questions or concerns you would have, or if, in fact, if we were to have the employee associations lined up here expressing their concerns about a particular classification, why should this be a 12-month probationary period, or why should this particular classification be unclassified versus classified? That type of input is what you would traditionally base any type of modifications on.
The main input would be if for example, pool manager came and said, hey, I shouldn't be unclassified employee, I should be a classified employee, and you somehow had some knowledge that should be into a classified section, then at that point, Commission as a whole has the ability to transfer that particular person into a classified employee if we believe that they meet the requirements. So I think that mainly would be what we would do. Correct, Mr. Doyle?
That's correct. Very good.
Okay. And the last question, on day 1, who established this list when it was first established? Was it
Jack Kaufman did.
Before
And he
my
actually
time.
signed it on our behalf, but we just kind of...
So somebody in HR
Many
put
years
this together and said this is it, and then it's been kind of,
Yes.
I don't want to use the word rubber stamped, but I will.
That's a
Since
good
then.
one. That's a good
Well,
word.
there's, yeah, I mean, and there's rationale, there's appropriate logic for why these classifications appear in this manner. Again, if we were talking about entry level, these classifications here typically are those that do not require prior experience coming through the door, unlike many of the other jobs that we recruit for. When you're looking at the 12-month probationary period, what you're going to see are mostly public safety, meaning police or fire, managerial positions, and there's a few non-management positions that would have a 12-month probationary period versus 6 months. The unclassified positions, we've gone and made that pretty simple over the years. As Sheriff Carrion alluded to earlier, there was a whole list of salaried positions, mostly grant funded, that appeared on this list. That again, the commission a few years back chose to change those from unclassified to classified for a variety of very good reasons. So, there's a lot of this is tradition, but again, there's very good rationale for most of these decisions. And again, what you see on these lists are those that have been traditionally on these lists. The new classifications that have been added are underlined. Those that have been deleted or titles have changed or stricken. So you can see fairly well what changes are occurring from the last time this was adopted.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Goes from 6 to 12.
Thank you.
Hello?
And if I could,
Okay, I'll
the whole question of why do we call this a public hearing? Frankly, I don't have a good answer for that. For most of these, the civil service rules do require on the 12-month probationary report. It specifically says that the commission shall designate those classifications having a 6-month versus a 12-month, and any modifications thereto are to be made by the commission after public hearing. That's kind of where we drove that from, and that's how we presented these to the commission for many years. But
Yeah, but I mean, this whole hearing is a public hearing here.
that's sort of my view.
Yeah, well, once we open the meeting, it's a public hearing, and then you don't have to open another public hearing for it.
Yeah, you do if the rules require it.
But I mean, the whole hearing, the whole meeting today is a public hearing, which was noted 72 hours prior. Public was aware of it. We had an oral communication that people could speak on that particular issue or at some point in the future. And no cards has been given. If somebody says, I want to speak on item number 6, they'll give you a card that would say item number 6.
That's true.
Then they'll speak. If I don't have a card and there's a public hearing, then they won't speak. And I don't see people rushing in anyway. So anyways, Mr., whatever you're comfortable with.
Well, why don't we, I think it's something that ought to be reviewed, and we're eventually going to have new council. We've already got it agendized as a public hearing, so why don't we just go through the motions? It's an extra
No, we're going to
20...
have a new council, Mr. Cantus. Might be the same council. 3 people are running for the same office.
No.
Anyways.
COUNSEL, legal counsel to our
Okay.
commission.
I'm sorry.
Not city council.
sorry.
And we can deal with it then. It takes us about an extra 30 seconds to deal with them as public hearings.
Okay.
Why don't we just do that?
Sure. Whatever.
That would be my
Is
suggestion.
that okay, Mr.?
That's fine.
Okay. Opening the public hearing on the first item, which is the entry-level classification. Any notes? No. Closing the public hearing. Can
Move to accept the resolution.
Move. Is there a second?
Second.
Move in second. Can we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Devine?
Yes.
Commissioner Gantis?
Yes.
Sheriff Carrion?
Yes. That's opening the public hearing on the public hearing 12-month probationary period classification. Anyone? No. Close it. Let's
Move to approve the resolution.
Second.
Moving second. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Devine?
Yes.
Commissioner Gantis?
Yes.
Chair Carrion?
Yes. Opening public hearing on the unclassified hourly classification and positions. Yes.
I do have one
Okay,
question on that.
we won't open the public hearing then.
You can open the public hearing if
Okay,
it's no
it's
question.
open. Go ahead, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
On this one, it says pursuant to City Charter Article so-and-so, Section 7, and Rules 1, 2, and 5 of the Civil Service Commission. When I looked these over, I found a nexus between all of these items with the exception of Rule 5 in the Civil Service Rules. And so it's not a major issue, but I'm wondering, and I would approve it as it is, but perhaps for the future, we might want to find out why Rule 5 applies to this.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Devine, Rule 5 does have a section which describes temporary employment, Section 9, A and B, and I agree with you. It's not there's not a direct nexus to the action you're taking here versus what Rule 5, Section 9 states, but that is something we can clean up.
And I did see that, but I couldn't equate the word temporary with unclassified, so I was a little mystified on that. So I say it's not a big deal, but it might be something you want to look into.
Okay, we'll do.
Okay. Close. Well, let me see if there are any cards. No cards and no one rushing in. Close the public hearing.
Move for approval.
Second?
Moving second. Could we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Devine?
Yes.
Commissioner Gantis?
Yes.
Chair Carrion?
Yes.
I just was going this
All
way.
right. What's next?
Agenda forecast.
Mr. Chair, your agenda forecast is right here. At our next meeting, 2 weeks from today, we will have the first round of consideration of rule amendments for consideration. We'll also have our report of advertising budget expenditures for the second quarter of fiscal year 08-09. The following meeting, there's nothing identified. The meeting after that, second meeting in February, we anticipate having our mid-year report on hourly employment relative to those positions which are approaching or have exceeded 1,250 hours at this point in the fiscal year. With that, if you have any further questions or like to add anything, to consider that.
On February 11th, I'd like to add the actual discussion on advertising budget. And do we actually, to read the charter to see if we actually approve the advertising budget or do we just get a report on it? So I want to kind of review that and see what the charter actually says.
Why don't we then continue the report on the advertising budget and schedule at the same time a discussion on the Commission's jurisdiction over the advertising budget expenditures? Is that what you want to know?
Mm-hmm.
Can we do that, Mr. Doyle?
Certainly.
Okay. That's what I'd like to see.
That'll give us more time to talk about the rule amendments, which probably need to be some time anyway.
Anyone else? Okay. And what's next?
Reports and information, past to employee performance evaluations.
Mr. Gantis?
I will do this in place of Commissioner Coleman. I am not taking his place. I'm just subbing. No past due performances. City Manager's Office, City Treasurer's Office, Community Development and Housing, Finance, Fire has no past due with 229 salaried employees. Glendale Water and Power with 385, none. Human Resources, thankfully, none. Planning, none. Police with 372, none. And Public Works with 316, none. Out of 1,792 salaried employees, we only have past dues of first, second, or third notices, no third notices, first and second of 16. That's a pretty good percentage.
The city attorney's office, just so we would know, with 20 employees, has 5 second notices.
5 of the
So,
9. 5 of the 16.
5 of the 16, yeah. So we probably want to be careful with that. That goes back as to October 16th of 2008.
maybe we ought to pass that along to those people that are up the feeding chain in the city attorney's office, folks.
Okay. What's next?
Civil Service Commission and our staff comments.
I do have a comment. A good friend of ours, Roy Coleman, has been in and out of the hospital for the past month or two, and he hasn't been here with us. His position will stay open until such a time as we get word from him otherwise, but I want to wish him and his family the best of health and hope to have him back very, very, very soon. So I'm pleased. Hopefully he's watching. If he's not watching, maybe he'll watch a tape and he'll know that our thoughts are with him, and we wish him the best of health and hope that he gets back to this commission very, very, very soon.
I would second that and just bring up the fact we talked about the reclassification of those unclassified, which had, as Mr. Epkarian said, for years and years, these positions just stayed there. They were rubber stamped. And the real impetus for our commission taking this up, and it was a very long process. We even hired a special person to deal with it. We still had Mary Jane, whatever her name was. The impetus was Roy. And that one of the chief things that Roy wanted was to give that dignity to those people. And I've never forgotten Roy's arguments and his passion on that. So Roy has been a very, very effective person in this commission, and we miss him very much. And I also second that we want him back. And
I will echo those thoughts also and ask that he get back as fast as he can.
Okay. Thank you. Any comments from the staff? Thank you. We...
No session.
Yeah, okay, we will be going into the closed session, and we will not be reporting out, coming out, and this concludes our televised portion of our Civil Service Commission hearing. Thank you.